Namaste everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Pratibha KS, Head Department of Biotechnology at Kaili Society's S. Nijlingappa College, Bangalore. Today, my lecture topic is on fermented foods. Under this unit, we are going to study cheese, yogurt, buttermilk, idli, sauerkraut and tempeh. Okay. You can see a beautiful picture over here related with fermented foods. Before going to fermented foods, let us understand about fermentation. Okay. Fermentation is a process in which microorganisms change the sensory like flavor, odor, etc. and functional properties of a food to produce an end product that is desirable to the consumer. Fermentation in food processing typically is the conversion of carbohydrates to alcohols and carbon dioxide or organic acids using yeast, bacteria or a combination thereof under anaerobic conditions. Fermentation in simple terms is the chemical conversion of sugars into ethanol. It is an energy yielding process. The science of fermentation is also known as zymology or zymergy. Fermented foods that have been subjected to the action of microorganisms are enzymes which undergoes fermentation process in order to bring about a desirable change. Numerous food products owe their production and characteristics to the fermentative activities of microorganisms. Fermented foods originated many thousands of years ago when presumably microorganisms contaminated local foods. The fermentation process is aided by the species of Lactobacillus, Erwinia species, Leuconostoc species, Streptococcus, Penicillium, etc. It is estimated that about 20 to 30% of the household budget is spent towards foods in the developed countries. This may be a little less in the developing nations. Therefore, food and beverage biotechnology occupies a prominent place world over. There are records that man was making bread, wine, curd, etc. as early as 4000 BC. These processes collectively referred to as traditional or old biotechnology. With the advances made in microbiology and recently biotechnology, food technology and beverage production is a major industry all over the world. Food biotechnology is also concerned with the improved quality, nutrition, consistency, color, safety and preservation of foods besides making them available around the year. In addition, modern biotechnological processes also take into account the health aspects of the people. The production of fermented foods is variable. This depends on geographical region, availability of raw materials, traditions and food habits of the people. Okay, I'm just going through the fermented foods. In between, if you want to go through more about these particular sentence, you can pause the video or you can take a screenshot. Okay. Here you can make out in the tabular column a selected list of common fermented foods along with the raw materials and fermenting microorganisms. First column is giving you information about the food, fermented foods, then principal ingredient or raw materials, then third column key microorganisms or fermenting organisms responsible for that fermented food. Wine, raw material grapes, then fermenting organism, yeast. beer, cider, yeast organism is responsible. Then raw materials for beer, barley, and for cider, apples. And rest of the food examples have given. You can go through that raw materials and respective fermenting microorganisms for that particular food. In your syllabus you are studying related with the wine, that is raw material grapes from the yeast. Then beer, that is from the barley, fermenting microorganism is yeast. Then yogurt, raw material milk, key microorganism lactic acid bacteria, in short LAB. Then cheese, raw material milk, key microorganism LAB. Then buttermilk, milk is the raw material, LAB is the key microorganism. Then tempeh, soya beans is the raw material and key microorganism molds. Okay. Sauerkraut you don't have in our syllabus, but you can have that particular knowledge about that fermenting food also. Here also you can have some information regarding the organisms and the organisms responsible to produce different compounds. For example, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, ethanol and carbon dioxide, Enterobacter, ethanol, lactic acid, formic acid, etc. and so on and so forth. You can see there different examples of microorganisms responsible for producing different compounds. Then advantages of fermented foods. This fermented foods which will be having always enhanced nutritive value, increased digestibility, improved flavor and texture, serve as supplements in preparing several dishes. And also we can see the advantages in fermented dairy products. The fermented dairy products are produced by the action of lactic acid bacteria that are naturally present in milk. Normally, the pasteurized milk is inoculated with starter culture during fermentation. The use of pasteurized milk reduces the growth of pathogen as well as suppresses the action of certain enzymes in milk that hinder the fermentation process. The basic principle behind the production of various fermented dairy products is very similar. Potential benefits of fermented foods I have given in two columns. One is the increased value and the other one is the lowered value in the fermented foods. In the increased one, enhancement of safety, acid production, acid and alcohol production, production of bacteriocins, removal of toxic component helps to preserve food. Then retail value, health benefits, the nutritional values like improved digestibility, retention of micronutrients, increased fiber content, synthesis of probiotic compounds. Digestibility here, increase its vitamin content or its digestibility compared to the raw materials, suitably for subsequent processing. Sensory properties are improvement of aroma and flavor characteristics are possible. Ease of storage and transportation. Extended shelf life considerably over that of the raw materials from which they are made. Now let us go through the lowered one. Toxicity will be lowered, then production cost, then cooking time, equipment needs, levels of anti-nutritional factors. These are some of the potential benefits of fermented foods. Let us go through now fermented milk products. These are some of the examples which comes under fermented milk products. The first and foremost one is the cheese, yogurt, cultured buttermilk, acidophilus milk, kefir. Let us go to the first one, cheese. Cheese production is the largest dairy industry in the world. There are around 1,000 types of different cheeses. They are broadly of two types: unripened cheese, that is cottage cheese with low fat cream cheese with high fat, and ripened cheese, hard cheese, for example, cheddar, blue cheese, soft cheese, for example, Limburger and Camembert. Irrespective of the type of cheese, all of them are invariably made from the casein of milk, that is produced after separating the whey. Whey, that is nothing but liquid portion of the milk. Milk from different animals can be used, for example, sheep, cow, goat and buffalo. Historical perspective of this particular cheese. The use of animal stomachs for carrying liquids is centuries old. When milk was transported in this fashion, the formation of solids that were tasty was observed. The solids were concentrated after draining liquids. These liquids were salted and consumed later. A good example of food preservation long ago we have observed. We now know that this solid portion is the cheese. It is produced by the combined action of enzymes, that is rennet, of the stomach cleaving and bacterial contamination. Let us go through the production process of cheese. As already stated, cheese is produced from milk. This is carried out by a process of dehydration, wherein casein, which has rich with the milk protein, and fats are concentrated for 5 to 15 fold. Cheese production is very complicated and broadly involves 4 stages: acidification of milk, coagulum formation, and separation of curd from whey, and also ripening of cheese. This is important. In the exam usually they'll ask you for 5 marks or 10 marks about the cheese and the production process of the cheese. Then coming to the first one, acidification of milk. By employing lactic acid bacteria, that is Streptococcus lactis, Lactobacillus lactis, the sugar of the milk, that is lactose, can be converted to lactic acid. This lowers the pH to around 4.6 and thus acidifies milk. That is nothing but acidification of milk. Now let us go through coagulum formation. When the acidified milk is treated with rennet, that is enzyme chymosin of animal or fungal origin, casein gets coagulated. Casein mainly consists of 3 components: insoluble alpha and beta caseins and K-casein that keeps them in soluble state. By the action of chymosin, K-casein is degraded. Consequently, alpha and beta caseins and the degraded products of K-casein combine to form a coagulum, that is nothing but curd. This process of coagulation is dependent on calcium ions. Coagulum formation. You can see here casein in soluble state that was subjected with the chymosin, then casein was degraded, then calcium ions are responsible for the coagulum formation. So this is a pictorial representation of coagulum formation in the production of cheese. Now let us go through separation of curd from whey. When the temperature of the coagulum is raised to around 40 degrees Celsius, the coagulum, that is nothing but curd, and whey that is nothing but fluid portion, get separated. The separated curd is cut into blocks, drained and pressed into different shapes. It is nothing but separation of curd from whey. Next, ripening of cheese. The flavor of raw cheese with rubber texture such as cheddar is bland. Ripening imparts flavors besides making changes in its texture. The procedures adopted for ripening or maturation are highly variable depending on the type of cheese to be prepared. The blocks of curd separated are subjected to the action of proteases and lipases or lipases. Alternatively, they may be inoculated with certain fungi, for example, Penicillium roqueforti. The hydrolysis of proteins and fats, either by enzyme or microorganisms, results in certain compounds which imparts flavor to the cheese. Mild hydrolysis of fats, usually carried out by lipases, are Aspergillus niger or Mucormyces, results in butyric acid formation with characteristic flavor. Let us go through here diagrammatic flowchart presentation of cheese production. Milk was taken, then subjected for the acidification in presence of lactic acid bacteria. Then we will be able to obtain acidified milk that will be subject for the coagulum formation in the presence of chymosin, rennet, then curd or coagulum that will be subjected for the separation, for the separation of the whey. Curd subjected to salting, then that will be subjected to ripening to obtain cheese in the presence of proteases, lipases or microorganisms. Now let me brief you about the cheese. Cheese is a concentrated form of two major milk components, milk protein and milk fat. Besides milk, it contains a selected strain of bacteria, a milk clotting agent and sodium chloride. Variations in the basic constituents, use of additional ingredient and different environmental conditions surrounding the manufacture and subsequent ripening of cheese have given rise to various varieties of cheese. Standard cheese processing is as follows. We have gone through already in the previous slide cheese production. If you want, you can take this particular information also for the cheese production. Virtually all cheese is made by coagulating milk protein, that is casein, in a manner that traps milk solids and milk fat into a curd matrix. This curd matrix is then consolidated to express the liquid fraction, cheese whey. Cheese whey contains those milk solids which are not held in the curd mass. In particular, most of the milk sugar, that is lactose, and a number of soluble proteins. Milk receipt, pre-treatment and standardization, first step. Then pasteurization, addition of starter culture, coagulation, extraction of whey, cutting and cooking of curd, salting, ripening, packaging and distribution. You can go for the previous slide for the cheese production, or you can refer this particular slide for the cheese production. If you write any one information, that will be more than enough. Then cheese processing in a flow chart. Milk was taken, then addition of starter culture, addition of coagulant, cutting of the coagulum, cooking the curd coagulum, draining of whey, knighting of curds, salting of curds, pressing of curd, ripening of cheese. Then here you can see a flow diagram for typical cheese plant. Milk recipient, pre-treatment and standardization, then pasteurization, addition of starter culture, coagulation, cutting and cooking of curd, extraction of whey, salting, ripening, packaging and distribution. I've given many flowchart for the processing of cheese production. You can go for any one particular diagram or diagrammatic representation or flowchart, and you can keep that in your mind. Then coming to the types of cheese and the respective organisms. Soft cheese, Streptococcus, Cremoris, Penicillium, Camembert. Semi-soft cheese, Lactobacillus lactis, Brevibacterium linens. Hard cheese, Lactobacillus casei, Lactobacillus plantarum. Semi-hard cheese, Lactobacillus casei and Streptococcus cremoris. Fresh cheese, Streptococcus species. Blue cheese, Penicillium roqueforti, Lactococcus lactis. Processed cheese, fungi or fungal spores used during ripening. Examples of cheese with the microbes involved and category can be observed here. Okay, we already gone through different varieties of the cheese. I am not going through all these things. Previous slide is giving more information. If you want, you can have a look here. Okay, first you are going to observe the cheese and the respective microorganisms which were used for the production of that particular cheese. You can take a screenshot or you can pause the video and you can have a look. Have a look. Here you can see the microorganisms which were used in the cheese production. The pictorial representation: Lactobacillus species, Brevibacterium species, Streptococcus species, Penicillium species, Lactobacillus. The last one is Lactobacillus plantarum specifically. Here you can see the pictorial representation of cheese production. Okay, as I told you earlier, I've given many cheese production process, flowchart, diagrammatic representation. Any one pictorial representation of flowchart you can choose for the examination point of view. Okay, for the cheese production, first and foremost important is we need raw milk. Raw milk can also be subject for the traditional cheese making, but in most of the at the industrial level, larger scale, the raw milk will be subjected through pasteurization. After pasteurization, standardization and filtration, then subjected for the coagulation, that is curdling in presence of enzyme rennet, or that can also be inoculated with fermenting microorganisms. This coagulation will be further subjected to cutting, then stirring and cooking. Then further subjected to draining of whey, then the curd is subject for the milling, then subjected to the salting, then fresh cheese obtained, cottage and cream cheese. Further, this fresh cheese can also be subjected for the into the molds. Pouring into the molds will be done according to desirable molds. Further, these molds are subjected for the ripening. Then the same cheese also subject for the draining of additional whey and will be able to finally obtain ripened cheese. Now let us go through the health benefits of cheese. Cheese contains a host of nutrients like calcium, protein, phosphorus, zinc, vitamin A and vitamin B12. Calcium is one of the nutrients most likely to be lacking in the American diet. The high quality protein in cheese provides the body with essential building blocks for strong muscles. If you are lactose intolerant, many cheeses, particularly aged cheeses such as cheddar and Swiss, contain little or no lactose and are often well tolerated. Now let us go through another fermented food, yogurt. Yogurt are the traditional soy milk preparations that have become major dairy products. Whole low fat and skim milks and even cream may be used to make yogurt. Yogurt is produced by fermenting whole milk by employing a mixed culture of Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus in 1:1 ratio. The milk is boiled and cooled prior inoculation. This is called a milk premix. This is then incubated with starter culture at 42 degrees Celsius. The Lactobacillus bulgaricus produces mainly acids, whereas the Streptococcus thermophiles produces the flavoring agent like acetaldehyde. Streptococcus thermophiles grows faster than Lactobacillus bulgaricus. The associate growth of two organisms results in acid production at a rate greater than that produced them individually. The fermentation is allowed to continue for hours until desired flavor, acidity and consistency are attained. A sharp, tangy flavor is characteristic of yogurt is marked with sweeteners like sucrose, honey, corn, sweetener, lactose, etc. Yogurt is very delicious, and in fact frozen yogurt is becoming popular as an alternative to ice cream. This is all summary about yogurt. Okay, if you want further, I'll be able to give further information also. Let us go through again the summary of yogurt. Yogurt is produced by the controlled fermentation of milk by two species of bacteria, Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Lactococcus thermophilus. The lactose is fermented to lactic acid and is the one which causes the characteristic curd to form. Streptococcus thermophilus brings the pH of the milk down to 5.5. Lactobacillus bulgaricus converts lactose to lactic acid. Proteolytic enzymes from Lactobacillus bulgaricus which breaks down milk proteins into peptides. These peptides stimulate the growth of Lactobacillus thermophilus, which in turn produces formic acid and carbon dioxide. These are the growth stimulants for Lactobacillus bulgaricus. Now let us go through here production of yogurt. Raw milk was taken, further subject for the pasteurization. Pasteurized milk will be subjected to the homogenization, cooling, then incubation. By adding the starter culture, then raw yogurt is obtained. To this raw yogurt, fruit can be treated or flavored. Then heat treatment was given. Then processed yogurt will be packaged. Types of yogurt. You can make out here some different types of yogurt. Set yogurt, stirred yogurt, drinking yogurt, flavored yogurt, concentrated or Greek yogurt, frozen yogurt. Then to the yogurt one can add fruits and one can also go for flavors. Fruits and flavors can be added depending on the type of yogurt. Fruits can be added in the bottom of the cup and the inoculated yogurt is poured on the top and fermented. Fruit may also be blended and fermented along with yogurt before packing. Here you can make out the nutritional factors of yogurt. Total fat 0.4 mg, cholesterol 5 mg, sodium 36 mg, potassium 141 mg, carbohydrates 3.6 grams, sugar 3.2 grams, protein 10 grams. These are some picture representations of yogurt along with fruits and with different flavor. Now let us go through other fermented food, buttermilk. Buttermilk is a phospholipid-rich liquid remaining after the cream is churned to produce butter. It is commonly produced by inoculating pasteurized skim milk with the selected starter culture. The liquid buttermilk is cultured milk. The fermentation is continued until desired aroma, acidity and flavor have been developed. In the process of manufacturing, starter culture of Streptococcus lactis or Streptococcus cremoris is added to the milk to produce acids. This is followed by the addition of cultures of Leuconostoc species that imparts characteristics of aroma and flavor. The product is incubated at 20 degrees Celsius until the pH drops to 4.6. Further, the flavor is enhanced by the addition of citric acid, salt or butter granules. The actual process of manufacture of culture buttermilk involves basically 3 steps: pasteurization, homogenization and culturing. The cultured buttermilk can be stored for 20 to 28 days under refrigeration. So this is all about buttermilk. To conclude, in the next slide you will be able to see again information about buttermilk. As I told you earlier, you can take a screenshot or you can pause the video and you can make a points related with the different fermented foods. Let's move on to the buttermilk. The term buttermilk refers to a range of fermented milk drinks. It is a liquid left behind after churning butter out of cream. Consumption of buttermilk has been proved to be beneficial in maintaining proper microflora in the intestine. Most of the bacteria, including coliforms and Clostridia in the stomach, are suppressed by drinking good buttermilk. It even improves the digestion. Here you can see the production of cultured buttermilk. Fresh milk was taken, and even the cream, standardized, subjected for the heating, cooled to incubation with the specific temperature, inoculate with starter culture, incubate, pack and store. Acidophilus milk. Whole or skimmed milk is fermented with Lactobacillus acidophilus, which is said to have therapeutic benefits in the gastrointestinal tract. It has an overall beneficial effect on people, especially those suffering from frequent diarrhea and intestinal gas. It has a very harsh acid taste and thus faces rejection by consumers. To overcome this, sweet acidophilus milk was also developed. In this, the bacteria are grown separately and added to pasteurized milk, and the inoculated milk is kept as 4 degrees Celsius. When this milk is consumed, the beneficial bacteria are activated in the warm stomach and intestinal tract. Now let us go through here about the production of acidophilus milk. First, we need to collect light UST cow milk. UST means ultra high temperature cow milk, or pasteurized reconstituted whey, subjected for the heat treatment at 37 degrees Celsius. Then addition of prebiotic combination at 3%. Mixing gently will be followed. Then inoculation of probiotic cultures. Then incubation at 37 degrees Celsius until pH 4.8. Then cooling for less than 10 degrees Celsius. Packaging, storage at plus 4 degrees Celsius. Here you can see the pictorial representation of Lactobacillus acidophilus. Here you can see the box containing with the Lactobacillus acidophilus in soya medium. Now let us go through another fermented food, sauerkraut. This food item results from a fermentation of cabbage by bacteria which are normally present on the cabbage. The cabbage is cleaned, shredded, bruised by tamping and is packed with about 2% of salt in jars or barrels. Wooden frames are placed on the cabbage to create pressure. The combined action of salt and pressure draws a considerable proportion of juice from the cells of the leaves. The cells of the leaves respire for a time, rapidly utilizing any oxygen present and creating anaerobic condition. You can see here the diagrammatic representation in short. Raw cabbage was taken, trimmed cabbage, then subjected for the shredding of the cabbage, then subjected with the salt to limit spoilage microbes, then allowed to ferment for 20 to 30 days, then once that is processed, finally packaged. Here you can go through about again sauerkraut, where Enterobacter and Erwinia species initiate fermentation, which is accelerated by leuconostoc mesenteroids producing 0.7 to 1.0% lactic acid. Lactobacilli then start multiplying and continue the fermentation to the final stage, increasing the acidity to as much as 2.4% lactic acid. Acids, esters and diacetyl give pleasant aromas and flavors. Fermentation requires 3 to 4 weeks at 21 to 29 degrees Celsius. In the preparation of sauerkraut, a large proportion of the antiscorbutic vitamins are preserved. Even in the early part of the 18th century, it was urged that all ships carry a quantity of sauerkraut and that some be supplied daily to all members of the crew to prevent scurvy. Now let us go to another fermented food, idli. Idli is a fermented food of India which is prepared by steaming a fermented black gram and rice batter. It makes an important contribution to the diet as a source of protein, calories and vitamins, especially B complex vitamins compared to the raw unfermented ingredients. It can be produced locally and used as a dietary supplement in developing countries to treat people suffering from protein calorie malnutrition, and kwashiorkor or other legumes such as soya beans, great northern beans could be substituted for black gram in preparation of idli. Further, research is needed regarding the increase of methionine content during idli fermentation, by which pathway methionine is synthesized, and amplification and isolation of microorganisms responsible for methionine production or synthesis are under research. Now let us go through idli production. Idli made with the ratio of 1:1 of black gram to rice batter volume increased about 47% for 12 to 15 hours after incubation at 30 degrees Celsius. The pH fell to 4.5 and total acidity rose to 2.8%. Using a 1:2 ratio of black gram to rice, batter volume increased 113% and Acidity rose to 2.2% in 20 hours at 29 degrees Celsius. Reducing sugar showed a steady decrease from 3.3 milligrams per gram of dry ingredients to 0.8 milligrams per gram in 20 hours, reflecting the utilization for acid and gas production. Soluble acids increased whereas soluble nitrogen decreased. Flatulence causing oligosaccharides such as stachyose and raffinose are completely hydrolyzed. Now let us go through organisms and their role in idli. Idli and dosa are both products of natural lactic acid fermentation. Leuconostoc and mesenteroids and Streptococcus faecalis develop during soaking. Then continue to multiply following grinding. Each eventually reaches more than 1 into 109 cells per gram 11 to 13 hours after formation of the batter. These two species predominate until 23 hours following batter formation. Practically all batters would be steamed. If a batter is further incubated, the lactobacilli and streptococci decrease in numbers and Pericoccus cerevisiae develops. Leuconostoc mesenteroids is the microorganism essential for leavening of the batter and along with Streptococcus faecalis is also responsible for acid production. Both functions are essential for producing a satisfactory idli. Here you can go through the preparation of idli, a Indian fermented food. Rice 66 gram was taken, black gram with cotyledon 33 grams. Both are washed thoroughly, then soaked for 6 hours. Soaked rice subjected for the grinding with water to give a coarse batter. Other side, soaked black gram ground with water to give a smooth gelatinous paste. Batter and gelatinous paste mixed together properly, then fermented at 30 degrees Celsius for 20 hours. If needed, one can go for seasoning. Once seasoning is done, placed in idli steamer and steamed hot idli cake or served. Now let us go through kefir. Kefir is a beverage produced by the action of lactic acid bacteria, yeast and acetic acid bacteria on milk, which produces a distinctive fermented milk product with unique properties. It is produced by adding a starter culture called kefir grains directly to milk. The kefir grains are a mass of several different bacteria and yeast embedded in a complex matrix of protein and carbohydrate. Traditionally, prepared kefir contained 1 to 2% of alcohol due to the complex fermentative process of kefir grains. But new and improved production methods have resulted in much lower levels. The mouthfeel of kefir is described to be prickly and sparkly. This is all about kefir. Okay. Wide range of flavored kefir can be seen here. It's available in the market, and below you can see kefir grains. Now let us go through tempeh. Tempeh or tempeh is a traditional Indonesian soya product that is made from fermented soya beans. It is made by a natural culturing and controlled fermentation process that binds soya beans into a cake form. A special fungus is used which has the Latin name Rhizopus oligosperus, usually marketed under the name tempeh starter. Tempeh begins with whole soya beans which are softened by soaking and dehulled, then partly cooked. Specialty of tempeh may be made from other types of beans. wheat, or may include a mixture of beans and whole grains. The principal step in making tempeh is the fermentation of soya beans, which undergo inoculation with Rhizopus species. Molds, a type of filamentous fungus most widely used for the production of tempeh, a fermentation starter containing the spores of fungus Rhizopus orgospores or Rhizopus oryzae, is mixed in the beans and are spread into a thin layer and are allowed to ferment for 24 to 36 hours at a temperature around 30 degrees Celsius. The soybeans have to cool down to allow spore germination, and abundant growth of mycelium can be seen. Later, the temperature of the beans will naturally rise and rapid mold growth happens for around 4 hours. As mold growth declines, the soya beans should be bound into a solid mass by mycelium. In good tempeh, the beans are knitted together by a mat of white mycelium. Typically, tempeh is harvested after 48 hours of fermentation with its distinguishable whitish color, firm texture and nutty flavor. Extended fermentation time results in an increase in pH and undesirable color darkening in the tempeh. During the fermentation process, optimal time of fermentation, temperature, oxygen, humidity and pH levels are required to encourage the growth of the Rhizopus mold while discouraging the growth of undesired microorganisms. The pH level should be kept around 3 to 5 by adding a mild acidulant such as vinegar, lactic acid or acetic acid, thereby flavoring mold growth and restricting the growth of spoilage microorganisms. Oxygen is required for Rhizopus species growth but should be maintained at low levels to prevent the production of undesired microorganisms. Under conditions of low temperature or higher ventilation, grey or black patches of spores may form on the surface. This is not harmful and should not affect the flavor or quality of the tempeh. This sporulation is normal on fully mature tempeh. A mild ammonia smell may accompany good tempeh as it ferments, but it should not be overpowering. Have a quick look. Here you can see the tempeh, a fermented product. Here you can make out the conclusion of tempeh. Tempeh is a soya food made by controlled fermentation of cooked soya beans with the Rhizopus molds. This fermentation binds the soya beans into a compact white cake. Tempeh has been a favorite food and staple source of protein in Indonesia for several hundred years. But it is now rapidly becoming popular all over the world as people look for ways to increase their intake of soya. Known for its health benefits, they discover tempeh's versatility and delicious taste. Normally, tempeh is sliced or cut in cubes and fried until the surface is crisp and golden brown. You can also grate it like cheese. Tempeh can be used as ingredient in soups, spreads, salads and sandwiches. Let us go through the different types of tempeh. First column, different types of tempeh and they are made from, I have given. Tempeh jumbos made from okra, tempeh godhang, banana leaves, tempeh goreng, deep fried tempeh, tempeh bronkrek made from coconut press cake. Now let us go through the flow chart of preparation of tempeh. Soya beans were taken, subjected for the dehull by mechanical or by soaking. Then that will be soaked in water at 100 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes in acidified water with lactic acid or acetic acid adjusted to pH 4.3 to 5.3. Cook in soak water for 90 minutes at 38 degrees Celsius. Drain and dry soya beans. Then subject with the Rhizopus algosporus, inoculate and bag. Then incubate at 35 to 38 degrees Celsius and 75 to 78% of relative humidity for 18 to 24 hours. Then refrigerate. Now let us go through here nutritive value of tempeh. Tempeh is very nutritive and contains many health promoting phytochemicals such as isoflavones and saponins. Tempeh fermentation produces natural antibiotic. Tempeh is a complete protein food that contains all the essential amino acids. Isoflavones, that is reduce risk of coronary heart disease and some cancers. This tempeh, which is with high protein quality, nutritional loss very low during the process, rich in phosphorus, potassium and iron, good source of vitamin B, that is thiamine and vitamin K. This is all about nutritive value of tempeh. Now let us go through here preservation of tempeh. Sun drying, quick freezing, or by drying in a circulating hot air oven at 69 degrees Celsius. Deep fat frying is another possible preservation method for tempeh. Modern processing methods mainly entail improving equipment needed, maintaining a sanitary and hygienic environment, creating an inoculum by selected microorganisms, and modernizing the methods of packaging. So this is all about the preservation of tempeh. You can write this information for 2 marks in the examination. Okay, tempeh is a protein-rich food that is considered one of the world's first meat analogues. It is made by growing the mold Rhizopus oligosporus or related species on soaked, dehulled, partially cooked soya beans, knitting them into firm cake which can be sliced and deep fried or cut into cubes and used in place of meat in soups. Tempeh production is not a means of improving shelf life, but it does improve the acceptability and the nutritional quality of its raw material. These are some of the tempeh available in the market. To conclude, fermentation should not be expected to sterilize substandard raw products, but rather should use high quality substrates. Microorganisms can improve their own competitiveness by changing the environment so that it becomes inhibitory or lethal to other organisms, while stimulating their own growth, and this selection is the basis for preservation by fermentation. Fermentation improves the safety of foods by decreasing the risk of pathogens and toxins, achieving the ineffective or toxigenic level, and extends the shelf life by inhibiting the growth of spoilage agents. I hope you have understood about fermented foods. Hope today's class was very informative about yogurt, buttermilk, idli, cheese, tempeh, sauerkraut and kefir. Hope to see you again in my another video. I, Dr. Pratibha KS signing off for today. Thank you everyone. Thank you for being with me. Stay blessed, stay safe, protect yourself and protect others. Thank you.